All right, so now we're going to talk about the drop. So here's a large list of things that I try to do when I'm creating a drop for a dubstep track or any sort of heavy bass track. So I like to automate some bass elements and then mess around with the sound design. And then once I kind of have my lead bass, I like to design that layer and the pattern. And then I like to do that for the second bass as well with another layer potentially. I also like to have a drone or background layer that just kind of keeps the track from sounding empty without the drop. And then lots of background elements. Obviously we'll have some sub bass. We already have some sub bass in this track. And then I often like to switch it up and have some offbeat fills. So not just using the same main drop bass the entire time. Now, sometimes, like I mentioned earlier at the very beginning of this course, that we'll have a mid-drop build-up, and I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do yet. And then almost every track that I make has a second drop as well, and I like to change things up a bit in the second drop because there's no point that I think of just totally repeating everything, even if it's a few slight changes. Anyway, let's go back into Logic. All right, so what I'm going to do is move all of this stuff that is to the right way over again. So just move this way over. So let's see, maybe like 48 bars. Okay. And I'm just kind of listening to this just in case we need anything. Yeah, so I think in terms of drum pattern, I'm going to use this one. So let me just isolate that. So here's my kick, and then I'll shift click to get my snare. I think that's it for the drums. I don't think I want that in the middle of the drop. Let's see what this one has. Yeah, let's do that. I think I can do that kick pattern. So delete this kick pattern. Click on the track I want to paste. All right, and I'll definitely want at least 2 of these to start, maybe more. Maybe we'll do that mid-drop build-up. And given our build-up, we might want to do that. I really like what we got. All right, so now that we got a very basic drop pattern for the drums, I'm going to open a new track. And I have been really liking a couple of different things for my basses, but this EFM1 synth is one of them. So I'm going to open this up. And let's see. So I'm just going to solo this. And here was where the fun comes in terms of sound design. So I like to bounce my things as audio files and then manipulate those once I get a sound, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. I'm going to close the library by hitting Y. I'm going to make a new, actually before I do that, I'm just going to hit Command K. You might be like, oh, this doesn't really sound like much of a dubstep synth, but that's because we haven't done anything to it. So we're definitely going to use this knob. This one as well. This changes the wave. I don't really mess with the harmonic all too much. I might mess with the volume envelope. This is kind of loud, so I'm going to turn this down. All right, so another thing I can mess with is ooh, that's fun. I'm just messing with different elements here. The stereo detune just widens the sound. All right, let's see what this is looking like. All right, cool. Now, here's what I think is really cool. That I just kind of started doing this not too long ago. I'm gonna hit B to open up these smart controls. And then I'm gonna hit this info button. So what I'm gonna do is delete all of these. So delete all patch mappings. So now none of these are mapped, okay? And here is my EFM1, okay? So I'm gonna start mapping some stuff to this, okay? So I want this to be mapped here. So I'm gonna go to learn. So now this right here, this controls this, if you see what I'm dragging. But the cool thing about this is you can add as many things as you want. So I'm gonna go to, click this button right here, add a mapping. This is unmapped, so I'm gonna hit learn. And let's say that I wanna change this wave. Okay, so if I wanna look at what it's doing, I can hit open. And this graph will tell me what's happening when I move this. And you can see this here. It's kind of complicated, but you can kind of hear, and I'll pull this down. Actually, I'll close out of this first. Look at this knob and this knob when I'm moving this. So let's say that I wanted to have the wave kind of start lower and not go all the way. Let's try that. So I'll go to open. And then I will go right here. I'm going to drag this down. Maybe you can drag this up a bit. So you can kind of tell already we're getting some cool stuff out of just these two automations. And one thing you can do is mess with the curve. So I have a linear curve right here. I might change this to an S curve. Let's see if that does anything that we like. And you can kind of, oh wow, I didn't even know you could do that. I think I can move this down at some point. Maybe not, but that's fine. I'm gonna change to one of these like and then so this max range, I think Okay, so that makes sense. So for these other curves that aren't linear, the max range is like how much you can do. So if I watch, my max range is super low right now. And I do understand that this is pretty complicated what's going on. You don't really need to know what's happening because a lot of the great sounds I get is purely by messing around. But this 0.3 I think means that this modulator wave is not going to move much. So it's barely moving. But if I turn this up to like 9, which is the max, now it's going to move a ton. I don't think I want it all the way up, but maybe at like 7 or something like that. I can change this curve. All right, so that's pretty cool already. Now, another cool thing about this is, well, first of all, I'm not going to do anything. Actually, let's see the FM depth. Maybe I'll add that as well. So I'm going to go to right here, add mapping, unmapped, learn, and then just click on where you want it to be. FM depth. Now I'm going to open this. I don't want this to go too low. Well, actually, let's just see what the default sound. This is the default. So let's see what that sounds like. So what I'm going to do now is mess with this a bit. Let's say my max, I do want my max to be 100, but I want my minimum to maybe be, or 1, I should say, 100%. The minimum range I want to be maybe 0.5. Let's do that, and then I'll put that over here. So it's not going to make a huge difference, but I just kind of want to see what it sounds like. And you see right here, that's not moving a ton, but it's moving a little bit. All right, so now what I'm going to do is add something to this EQ that I'm going to automate. So I have my EQ open, and I'm going to turn this up a bit, and maybe start right here. So, and I'm going to turn this decibels per octave down. Maybe even lower. I'm going to turn this up to kind of have this. So basically what I'm going to do is move this to kind of sweep around the frequency range. And then maybe even at 6, but no, that doesn't really work at 6. So let's do it at, okay, that's way too high. All right, so I've been messing around with this for a bit. So maybe I will automate this. So what I'm going to automate is the frequency of the low cut filter on the channel EQ. So I'll go to add mapping. Let's see, I can pick. So I said low cut frequency, or I could have just hit learn and touched it. So now I'm going to open this. Oops, I didn't want to learn that. I want to open this, my graph. And the problem here is it goes from 0 or 20 hertz, which is the lowest, all the way up here. So when I move this, that's way too extreme. I want my low to be, I want my minimum to be like maybe 100 and the maximum to maybe be 600. Let's see what that sounds like. Honestly, that max is pretty high. So I'm going to click back here, and I'm going to go down even lower because I want my the cool stuff is kind of happening. So right there, we just have our synth and our EQ, and I really like this sound. I'm going to save this as a preset right now before we even do anything else because I love it so much. So I'm going to save channel strip setting as, I'll call it obese FM1 dubstep smart control. Because that's what, I don't even know if I said smart control, but that's what this thing is. If you go to view, hide smart controls, that's what we have open.